For the latest film interviews, reviews, and everything making news in pop culture, subscribe to Film Companion now.
I had the opportunity to be in love with a man like Bhagwan. The rest makes no interest for me. And if people feel that they want me to have redemption, then I think they're reflecting themselves.
I think for me, what was really fascinating is in the world of Instagram, where validation means everything, and everyone's. It's really important how do we come across to others? How does Sheela navigate through the crowds? Because it's really fascinating to explore a character who's constantly under the weight of public scrutiny because of her past.
Shakun, Sheela, so lovely to have the two of you on Film Companion. I have so many questions. Let me start with asking the two of you, when you began on the documentary, what was the larger ambition? At one point in the film, Sheela, someone asks you, what are you seeking? Is it redemption? Was it that? Or was it an attempt to tell Sheila's history as opposed to Osho's history, which is also something you say in the documentary? Or was it balance out some of the harder things that we saw in Wild Wild Country, in which, somebody compared you to Hitler and somebody else said something else. So what did you two want from this?
I allow Shakun to speak because he's the filmmaker.
Yeah, I totally get the curiosity, around this because people had already seen so much in Wild Wild Country, and it was an investigative piece. But this one is not really an investigative piece. We are not going back to kind of reopening the facts. I think for me, what was really fascinating is in the world of Instagram, where validation means everything, and everyone's. It's really important how do we come across to others? How does Sheela navigate through the crowds? Because it's really fascinating to explore a character who's constantly under the weight of public scrutiny because of her past, and how does she carry that weight and chooses to respond to the world. And for me, that was really fascinating. And you're right about redemption, because the weight of redemption on her is like everyone's talking about that weight, but I want to know, does she carry that weight? And the whole idea of cancel culture,
Yeah.
do we put the weight on people, or do they carry it on themselves? And I think those are the questions that I had, and they are very different than the factual investigation. I think I was more interested in this kind of character piece, and that's why that's a part of the story that I was really interested in.
And Sheela, for you?
Let me say, I have nothing to redeem myself from. The whole concept of redemption comes from guilt. People have to understand the word first. And was I guilty of falling in love with Bhagwan? Yes, very much. So for that, I should ask for redemption. But no, there I celebrate that I had the opportunity to be in love with a man like Bhagwan. The rest makes no interest for me. And if people feel that they want me to have redemption, then I think they're reflecting themselves. I don't do anything to gain something and then feel guilty and say, oh, I should say, mea culpa, mea culpa. No, that's not me.
But tell me this. This is what I find amazing about you is your ability to have such a sorted view of him, and in a way to have, I don't know, perhaps forgiven him for so much. I mean, here you're a 16-year-old girl who falls in love with this man. You spend the better part of your life building this empire. You give him the best years of your life, and then he turns around and says horrible things about you. And in this documentary, there's that moment when Barkha is saying that she really wants, she's angry on your behalf, and you're saying, I can't satisfy you. I think we can all learn from that. How did you find it in yourself to kind of still have a view of him which is so sorted that you can have pictures of him all over where you live?
Clarity of my love, clarity of my heart guides me through difficult moments. When he wants to say something nasty about me, it is his problem, not mine. I know who I am, and I'm not fighting with him. When I left, I didn't leave him in a fight. I left him with the understanding that you cannot allow even a man like Bhagwan to take your biggest strength, love, as a weakness. And I was very clear to leave him also. He had spoken in public discourse. Sheela can come back whenever she wants to, and she has the same position. I was not with him for that position. He gave me that position. And then if he's angry and he finds me that I was totally wrong, then he has to suffer. He has to say mea culpa, not me. But I understand people's conflict over this issue. How can you do it? Well, you need to ask yourselves, is your love as intense? Do you have the same clarity of love? Maybe what I had it. Mm-hmm. Was your love a barter, a business? Then you will find answers similar to mine.
Shakun, tell me, as a filmmaker, I know you've been fascinated by this story for years. What has kept you so entangled in it?
So I grew up in a house where both my parents would listen to Osho and read his books. And, he's had a huge impact on my personal growth and my evolution. And for me, when I was in my early 20s, I started reading about the commune, Rajneesh, how they built it, and Sheela's name came a few times. So for me, when I got a chance, and this is pre-Wild Wild Country, when I got a chance to go meet Sheela in Switzerland, I kind of took the first flight out. For me, it as a storyteller, this story has everything. It has what Osho was preaching, finding a new kind of creating this new man, search within. And for me, those questions are what heroes' journeys are made for. You're constantly finding yourself. And he spoke directly to me at a very deep place. And because Sheela had spent such a close, so much time so closely with him, I wanted to get a deeper understanding and of the fallout, the communion and the fallout and everything this story has, from building of an empire, a city, trying to find a new way of living, creating a utopian society. Those are things that I'm deeply excited about. And, I still think I've seen Wild Wild Country. I've read about this whole story in depth. I still feel there's more, and there'll constantly be more to find, because what Osho spoke about, we still haven't gotten to that part of the story yet. I think there's so much wisdom, so much truth there, that there's still so much to go and dig deeper on. So I'm really keen to kind of keep going.
Sheela, were you happy or uncomfortable with how Wild Wild Country portrayed you?
In principle, I have not seen Wild Wild Country. What I had done, I front forwarded my statements to see that they have not distorted. That was the only part I have seen. No, I have not had any input, nor did I see the film. And I'm not curious either.
Really? How come?
Because I have lived my life. I have lived Rajneesh For me, it's boring a bit.
Well, let me tell you that you are, first of all, you're really beautiful. Okay, in Wild Wild Country, in all that archival footage, you come across as this incredibly striking, sexy woman who is just not taking any shit.
Wow.
Genuinely, I mean, I want once in my life to be able to say tough titties to someone. I don't think I will. I don't have the courage. But Sheila, you talked in an interview about how your time in prison, you said, was not time wasted because you learned the value of patience and you learned the value of time, which is what helps you in your work now as you look after elderly people with, mental impairments. Can you speak a little more about that? Like, how did you take learning from that to this life that you lead now? What we see in Searching for Sheila?
It was very important. On a daily basis, we talk about time. We don't have time, or I'm stressed for time, or this, that. Where is time? And in prison, everybody's doing time. So you just have to take the block time and turn it around and it becomes a diamond. So it was very important to understand this difference of not having time and only doing time. Then patience. To sit 39 months in a cell, you require immense patience. And what I did in my time, I tried the teachings of Bhagwan that I had grasped, learned from, to put them in practice. You can meditate, you can do this, that, sit with your eyes closed in a nice Buddha hall, among nice environment. But in this hard situation, can you remain aware and not let go of the moment? And that's what I did.
My last question, Shakun, you said that there is so much more in this story, and IndieWire reported that Priyanka Chopra will be playing the lead in an Amazon series. Are you both, as people who are so close to this narrative, happy with that casting choice?
Well, I think that's a separate show that I think Priyanka has been working on. I think people want to tell this story, and I can see why everyone's so keen. And I'm sure everyone have their own take on it. I come from it as I said, from a different place of having grown up listening to Osho, and for me, trying to understand Osho and psychologically trying to get closer to that idea of awareness that he constantly spoke about. For me, that's really the drive to kind of see why they built the utopia. How that was a social experiment that he was trying to create. It was an experiment in creating community awareness, and at a big scale, what Buddha called the Buddha field. He was trying to create that, and for me, that's the fascinating part. I think casting doesn't at this point. I mean, I'm sure they have ideas of how they want to do it. For me, it's who gets closest to being able to express the truth that most people haven't been able to express in words. And that's why even Osho or Jidda Krishnamurti, they can only point to that idea of truth, and I think we've grown up in a country of where people have spoken about the enlightened truth or the truth from beyond. And for me, that's the story. And now casting, sure, I think whoever comes to do the project, the people who come together, I hope they kind of understand those things and they want to talk about those things. If we only talk about the superficial layer of the partnership and the fallout, then I think it would be an opportunity lost. The story has so much more to give to people, to audience. We are all talking about mindfulness right now. This is back in the 70s. We've been so close to this idea. We've all spoken about this idea, and I feel like if we do not touch about those depth of the story, then everything else is superficial. So whoever's doing it, me, somebody else, I just hope we can do justice to the story and not just do the conflict part of it.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Sheila, what about you? Is Priyanka going to be badass enough to play you?
I am a bad judge on that issue. I have no ability to judge someone in the film role. Only thing I would say, I have been natural, and Shakun will have a hard task of looking for someone natural.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you're endlessly fascinating. And you're right, Shakun. This is a story with so many layers that we could keep just, peeling it apart like an onion. Thank you so much to both of you, and all best. It was so lovely to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Anupama.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.